Hello everyone, welcome to SS Educare Teaching Learning channel. Thank you for all my subscribers. Those who still didn't subscribe my channel, please subscribe and watch my videos. Your support is my strength. Let's go to our channel. Story of the day. Once there were many frogs living in a pond. There was a king frog among them who wanted to conduct a competition for the other frogs. There was a very old big tree in the pond. So the king asked all the other frogs, whoever climbs this tree till the top will win the competition. All the remaining frogs were so excited and started climbing as soon as king told them. Some of the frogs, while they were climbing, fell down. And some of the frogs, while they were attempting to climb, they started slipping down. And some of them were from the down, they were watching these frogs that slipping down. So the other frogs, whoever is watching from down, started commenting to the other frogs, whoever is climbing, that it's very impossible for the frogs to climb up. So there was like all other frogs were found it very difficult to climb the tree. Some of them, some wise frogs have accepted their defeat and said that it's impossible to climb and left the place. But there were some frogs still remaining under the tree and still started telling that it's very difficult and king has kept them into a very tough competition. But among all of them, there was one young frog who still attempted to climb the tree slowly, though so many times it slipped down. And finally, despite of all the negative comments, despite of all the discouragement words, this young frog would successfully complete climbing the tree to the top. So when it came down, all other frogs asked it how he could climb the tree successfully. The young frog who won the competition said this frog was deaf. He couldn't hear what others were telling. But when he was looking at the other frogs, he thought that those other frogs were encouraging him that you can do it. That's the story for today. What's the moral of the story? You should turn deaf to the negative comments. Take everything, this negative comments, into your positive milestones so you can win any tough situation in your life. Welcome back. In my today's video, I'll be continuing with stomatal transpiration. That was the last topic in my last video. There are three types of transpiration as discussed in the last video. They were stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration and lenticular transpiration. We stopped with stomatal transpiration. Yes. Today's topic will continue with stomatal transpiration with a theory called as potassium ion exchange theory. Moreover, before beginning, I will just tell you I am teaching all the chapters in depth so that this will be helpful for your next year's NEET exam also. Let's continue with potassium ion exchange theory. Potassium ion exchange theory. This was proposed by scientist Leavitt. During daytime, due to the rapid rate of photosynthesis, the concentration of carbon dioxide reduces in God cells. I'll repeat, during daytime, due to rapid rate of photosynthesis, the concentration of carbon dioxide reduces in God cells. During photosynthesis, what is happening to the plant? Plant keeps on, what is that? It keeps on taking carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So, due to the heavy rate of photosynthesis, high increased rate of photosynthesis, the rate of carbon dioxide decreases in the gut cell, because this keeps running, this photosynthesis keeps running throughout the day till evening. Till the sun is there, this keeps running. So that reduces the level of carbon dioxide in the gut cells of stomata. What happens as a result? The pH increases. When the amount of carbon dioxide decreases, the pH increases. At higher pH, starch in the gut cells is converted into malic acid. So, when pH increases, what do you mean by increased pH? Increased pH is, that is after 7. So, till 7 we will call it as decreased pH. From 7 is neutral pH. After 7 it is increased pH, or I can say it is basic pH. So, we don't know what is the pH, but pH increases slightly when the rate of carbon dioxide decreases. In the increased pH, starch in the gut cells. So this leaf stores starch actually during photosynthesis process. As the process is continuing, it keeps on preparing its food, starch. So this starch, where is it stored? It is stored in the leaves only. So the stored starch in the gut cells is converted to malic acid by the action of an enzyme called as phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. So the starch is getting converted to malic acid with the help of enzyme called as phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. Please note down, all the name of the enzymes will end up with ACE. All the enzyme. Take for example your carboxylase, ACE, amylase, ACE. So all such enzymes end up with a common term ACE. So this conversion helps in opening and closing of stomata. Let's see how this is happening. See, this malic acid dissociates into H plus ions and malate ions in gut cells. The first step after forming malic acid is this acid. We all of us know acid means it will have more number of H plus ions. If it is a base, it will have more number of OH minus ions. Yes, so as it is acid, it will have more of H plus ions. So this malic acid separates the H plus ions and your malate ions separately in gut cells. That's the first step. Dissociation means separating. This H plus ions gets transported to epidermal cells. From gut cells will be in the middle of, not middle actually, behind your epidermal cells, down to your epidermal cells. So this H plus ions that is getting dissociated gets transported to the top layer, your epidermal cells from gut cells, through H2K plus ion exchange. What is happening? This H plus ions will go to the epidermal cells and K plus ions which is present in the epidermis come down to the gut cells. So the taking up of H plus and K plus ions are balanced by malate ions. See, what did I say? The H plus ions and K plus ions are getting exchanged. So how is this? What is helping in this exchange or the balance? It is your malate ions, and H plus is balanced by Cl minus ions. We all of us know in chemistry, normally H plus will be balanced if you add minus normally. So if you add plus, the concentration of plus ions will increase. So that's not balancing actually. If H plus, any plus ions are there, you have to add minus for balancing. Same way here, to balance H plus and K plus ions, they are adding Cl minus ions. That is already present in the cells, your stomatal cells. Next, the increased, now what is happening? The concentration of H plus ions are increased. The concentration of H plus ions and your malate ions therefore increases the overall, the main hero of this stomatal transpiration is osmotic pressure. Because of osmotic pressure only, this opening and closing of stomata occurs. So, this increased concentration of H plus and malate ions increases the pressure of God cells. Thus, this increased osmotic pressure makes the stomata, when continuously there is pressure or force on anything, any particular organ or the cell, it makes the organ to break or open. Here, there is no chance of breaking, it will open. So, the increased osmotic pressure makes the stomata open for transpiration. So, this is how potassium, your K plus ion, potassium ion exchange theory. Potassium ion, K plus ion is getting exchanged with H plus and malate ions. Therefore, what is resulting in this exchange? What is resulting? It's the opening of stomata occurs. That is the major first step in the transpiration of stomata. Continuing with comparison of transpiration on both sides of the leaf. See, more transpiration occurs on lower surface of the leaf than upper surface. This is what is the statement. So, as I already said, people believe only when they see with their eyes. So, let's do an experiment to prove the statement that more transpiration occurs in the lower surface of leaf than upper surface. For that, they have taken two leaves which is attached to a glass slide, and this glass slide has cobalt paper. These are strips of or a small piece of cobalt chloride paper. See, dry cobalt chloride paper is being taken and it is held on a glass slides. So this slide, glass slides are pinned to on two sides of the leaf. I have drawn it as two leaves, but it means that these two slides are kept on two sides, upper and lower surface of the leaves, using the glass slide. Glass slide makes a support for placing the dry cobalt chloride paper. So after some time, see, cobalt chloride, when it is reacting with, or when this cobalt chloride, when it is touching the surface of the leaf, since leaf has starch, after some time the paper which is on lower surface turns blue to red. So this blue color, initially cobalt chloride is blue in color, but the lower surface turns this into red color, because this blue color, the starch, is getting reacted with cobalt chloride and forms red color. Yes? Okay. Whereas on the upper surface it remains blue only. It takes much time. So it is not that blue color is not getting converted, but still this will get converted. The blue color will get converted to red color, but will take more time when compared with the lower surface. I'll repeat, they have taken a cobalt chloride paper that is being pinned on, that is being attached to the glass slide. So they have taken two glass slides and kept one on the upper surface and another on the lower surface of the leaf, and kept as such like that for few minutes. After some time, they can see the lower surface of the leaf, the color of the cobalt chloride has converted to red color, which shows that more transpiration has occurred. And on the upper surface it was remaining as blue color. It doesn't mean that blue color will not change, it will change, but will take more time when compared with the lower surface of the leaf. So this shows that lower surface of the leaf transpiration rate is more higher. So inference, what is the inference? What do they conclude from this experiment? More transpiration occurs on the lower surface of the leaf due to the presence of more number of stomata on the lower surface of the leaf. That's your experiment. Next, The next time, there ends your stomatal transpiration. Next is your cuticular transpiration. As the name says, what is cuticle? Cuticle are the upper epidermal cells. Okay, so this cuticle, a thin, a thin layer on the epidermal cells is called as your cuticle. So to reduce water loss, so a plant keep on losing water due to transpiration. To reduce that, plant by itself modifies. What is that modification? It secretes a very thin waxy layer on its epidermal cells. This thin waxy layer is called as your cuticle. If the transpiration is through cuticle, there will be decreased transpiration rate. So this cuticle prevents evaporation of water. So when evaporation of water is less, the rate of transpiration will also be less. Increased thickness, it decreases the transpiration. So if the surface of the layer is like this, which has epidermal cells. On epidermal cells, if there is one more layer, very thick wax, you know how it will be. Let's take Vaseline. Vaseline, how it will be? Little bit thicker and very denser. So if that denser particle or denser substance is on the epidermal cells, definitely that will be thicker. Increased thickness will reduce the rate of transpiration. That is what is cuticular transpiration. That is why stomatal transpiration contributes 95% of transpiration, whereas the remaining 5% is your cuticular and lenticular. In that, lenticular transpiration is 3%. So remaining 2% is only from cuticular transpiration. The next last type of transpiration is lenticular transpiration. What are lenticels? They are small openings in the older stem in place of stomata. As how leaves have small pores called as stomata, stem also has very tiny pores called as lenticels. Through these openings or through these pores, plant tend to lose very less percentage of water due to transpiration. So water from the cell surface directly facing the lenticels evaporates. So this lenticels, water from the cell surface, it directly evaporates there's no intermediate layer between the cell surface of the stem and your God cells. So it evaporates and contributes to transpiration. Next, 3% of total transpiration is through lenticular transpiration. Next, lenticels never close. Lenticels are always open. Like how we saw stomatal transpiration, stomata with the help of God cells, it will open and close. As God cells open and close, transpiration rate also depends on opening and closing. Isn't it? But there is no open and close for lenticels. It will always remain open. But still the transpiration rate is very less when compared with stomata. That is your lenticular transpiration. Continuing with comparison between stomatal, cuticular and lenticular transpiration. Let's see the basis of comparison. This is on what basis we are comparing these three transpirations. Number one is its definition. What is the definition of lenticular transpiration? If the loss of water by the plants is through lenticels, it is called as lenticular transpiration. If the loss of water by a plant is through stomata, you call it as stomatal transpiration. Next, if the loss of water by a plant is through cuticle, you call it as cuticular transpiration. Second basis, occurrence. What time they occur? So lenticular transpiration occurs throughout day and night. Stomatal transpiration occurs only during photosynthesis time, that is during daytime. But cuticular transpiration also occurs throughout day and night. Next, percentage. Lenticular transpiration percentage is, transpiration rate is 3%. Stomatal transpiration rate is 95%. Cuticular transpiration rate is 2%. Next, presence of main structures. So lenticular transpiration, where are they present? It is present in the woody stems and twigs of leaves. What is twig? A small branch, a tiny branch of leaves are called as twigs. Then stomatal transpiration, that is stomata is present in the leaves. Then cuticles, cuticle is present in the outermost layer of stem or your leaves. So this is what is the comparison between stomatal, lenticular and cuticular transpiration. Next, what are the factors that affect your transpiration rate? There are two factors, internal factors and external factors. Internal factors means the factors which are inside the leaf that contributes or decreases the transpiration rate or increases the transpiration rate. Let's see. Number one is leaf structure. If the leaf has sunken stomata, means if the stomata is deeply inside the epidermal cells, then that also decreases the transpiration rate. Next, if there are hair on the epidermal cells, that also decreases the transpiration rate. Next, if there is cuticle on epidermis, cuticle is a thick waxy layer which reduces the evaporation rate and thereby transpiration rate is also decreased. Next, second one, leaf area. If the leaf area is more, if the laminal region of the leaf is more, assume the leaf is this much, the surface area will be more. So in such case, if the surface area of the leaf is more, there will be more number of stomata. If more number of stomata is there, transpiration rate also will be higher. Next, third one, water content by leaves. So, insufficient absorption of water by xylem vessels, wilting of leaves occurs. If leaves absorb very less amount of water for its photosynthesis process or for its respiration process, what happens to the leaf? The leaf will dry off without water and so it will wilt. If there is less number of leaf, less number of stomata will be there. If less number of stomata, transpiration rate will also be less. Fourth one, orientation of leaf. Orientation means how does it is present or seen. Transverse means laterally this side. It is transverse on either sides. If the leaves are transversely present like this, transpiration rate also will be higher. Then if the leaves are perpendicular, that is, assume this is your stem and the leaves are like this, perpendicular direction, the transpiration rate will be very less. Next, succulence. What is succulence? If the mucilage is present in the leaves. What is this mucilage? This is cuticle, a thick waxy layer, whereas this is mucilage, is nothing but the polysaccharide secreted by the leaves. So if the leaves secrete more polysaccharides in the form of mucilage, then it decreases the rate of transpiration in stem and the leaves. Next is external factors. External factors that affect the rate of transpiration is number one, light intensity. Intensity of light. If there is very dark light, if the light intensity is very high, more, then rate of transpiration will also be more. That is why during daytime when there is sun's light, that is photosynthesis, transpiration rate will be very higher. Evaporation will be very higher, so transpiration rate will also be higher. Next, temperature. So when during sun's heat or during sunlight or during photosynthesis process, there will be very high temperature or temperature will be increased. So in that time transpiration rate also will be increased. Increased temperature means increased evaporation also. Third one is humidity. Humidity means moisture in the air. If there is more humidity, then transpiration rate will be more. If there is more moisture, there will be more water for evaporating. If the humidity is very less, assume the leaves are dry, then transpiration rate also will be less. Then carbon dioxide, the amount of carbon dioxide, if the carbon dioxide percentage is more, transpiration will be very less. Then water absorption. Absorption of water, if the leaves absorb very less water from the roots, absorption by root hairs, then transpiration rate will be, if the absorption of water is very high, then transpiration rate also will be very high because the plant will get more water. If the plant is absorbing very less water, transpiration rate also will be very less because the leaves will not get sufficient water for evaporating. So these are the external factors that affect your transpiration. Next, what are the adaptations the leaf will have for excess transpiration? Number one, it will have thick cuticle. If some of the leaves has very thick cuticle, cuticle is nothing but the waxy layer on the epidermal layers, epidermal cells, then rate of transpiration will be less. It reduces the excess transpiration. Example in banyan tree. Next, reduced number of stomata. Some of the leaves will have reduced number of stomata as it's one of its modification. In such case, reduced number of stomata decreases the rate of transpiration. Next, sunken stomata. If the stomata is not on the dorsal surface of the leaf or the undersurface of the leaf, if it is little bit deep inside, not on the epidermal cells, then the rate of transpiration will also be less. Then presence of epidermal hair. If there is hair on the epidermal cells, then this hair will absorb most of the water and does not allow the water to get evaporated so fast. So the rate of transpiration will be less. Then opening stomata during night time. If stomata is completely closed during daytime, then there is no chance of sunlight entering into it. If sunlight is not coming, no carbon dioxide. If no carbon dioxide is there, here what we said, increased carbon dioxide decreases transpiration. But here if there is no sunlight, atmosphere also, the stomata is completely closed all time, sunlight will not be there, then there's only like increased carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will only be inside the leaves, it is been stuck inside the leaves, then the rate of transpiration will be very high. If the carbon dioxide is like very less carbon dioxide, then that may be a type of adaptation to decrease the transpiration. Opening stomata only during night time, so the rate of transpiration will also be reduced. So these are the adaptations to reduce excess transpiration. Next, what are the advantages of transpiration for the plant? Number one, it gives cooling effect. As water is getting evaporated, the surrounding of the plant will have that cooling atmosphere. It will have that chilling effect. Next, distribution of water. So there will be even distribution of water throughout the plant if excess water is being lost by the plant. Next, third one, translocation of water and minerals. What is translocation? Translocation is transfer or conduction of water and minerals by phloem cells. Next, it increases the suction force. Suction means the sucking up, the pulling of the water from the root hairs. Root hairs absorbs water from the soil. So top of the plant, till the tip of the plant, water has to reach. So for that, plant uses its suction force, or you can also call it as a transpiration pull, or the process can also be called as ascent of sap. Then fifth one, osmosis. Osmosis is, it also increases the rate of osmosis. Osmosis is a process where movement of water molecules from higher concentration, that is in your soil, as soil is rich in more minerals, from there to the region of lower concentration. Lower concentration will be in the leaf region through semi-permeable membrane. isn't it? So the rate of osmosis will also be more. That is, the movement of water molecules or the availability of water molecules to the leaves will be more by osmosis process. So these are the advantages. Next is your disadvantages. What are the disadvantages of transpiration? You will have wilting of leaves. So due to if there is very less absorption of water by the leaves from the root hairs, then plants will get dry off soon if the rate of transpiration is more. What will happen? Plant will lose all of its water and leaves will become dry. If leaf is becoming dry, then it will wilt soon. Then stunted growth. If transpiration is more, water will not be there available for the plant for its photosynthesis process. So plant will not grow. Third one is energy expenditure. Due to transpiration, as I have already said, suction force will be more. So the plant uses most of its energy for its transpiration pull. So almost most of the energy is lost only by transpiration process, and no energy will be remained for photosynthesis process and for the other process of the plant. Next, it loses most of its minerals also along with the transpiration, water. So loss of minerals through vessels and tracheids. Where are these vessels? It's present in the conducting tissues. Both xylem and phloem has xylem vessels and xylem tracheids. Phloem vessels and phloem tracheids. A type of vessels or type of phloem tissues. So most of the minerals. So some of the minerals, not most actually, some of the minerals are lost if there is excessive transpiration. Along with water, some of the minerals may also be lost. Plant will lose some of the excess minerals along with the water during transpiration process. So there ends this chapter, transpiration. As I told you, it's such a very small chapter and very interesting chapter also. Easy chapter for you when compared with other chapters. Hope I have done justice for this chapter, transpiration. All of you might have understood this chapter clearly. In my next video, I am going to end up this biology with this video, and in my next video, I'll start with another interesting subject, physics, chapter 1 of class 10 ICSE. Let's wait for my next video. If you like my videos, please click like button. Don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe my channel. Your support is my strength. Thank you.